there, it's Donna, seriously, and today I have a special video to share with you because it is my Hello 65. So I recently turned 65 and I thought that I would go through a few things that I've encountered to get to 65. I've never been one who dreaded milestone ages. So I was kind of looking forward to this one, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So the first thing, I'm going to be looking over to my little whiteboard here because I have all my stuff I want to talk about written down. First thing is health insurance. And I have to say, I think the United States has terrible health insurance. We don't take care of our elderly, and I noticed that with my parents at the end of their lives. But when I was a teacher/administrator, I paid about $400 a month for health insurance for my whole family. That's when I had the 3 kids on, my husband and I. And then slowly, that was fine. And then I retired. And that's when insurance went up for me. I stayed with the same company, and the premiums just skyrocketed. So by the middle, maybe 5 years into retirement, my premiums were up to $1,900 a month for my 2 sons, my husband and I. And then years went by and I kept that insurance, and then my 2 kids were off it, and then my husband was on Medicare, so it was just me alone, and it was $1,200 a month, and that was crazy. So I went online and I looked and I talked to somebody with Obamacare at the time, and I was telling him how much I was paying, and he said, "Oh my gosh, that is crazy." So he asked me some questions about my health and different things that I'd need. So I got on a limited policy, insurance policy at that time. And I was paying about $700 a month. This was a couple years ago. And that was still a lot, but it was half of what I was paying. The only thing about that was, and that concerned me, there were a few doctors I could see. One of the hospitals that I could use was one that I was not familiar with. So that worried me. So I stayed on that plan for a year. And then last January of 23, I got on Anthem, and my premiums were about the same, about $700. And it made me feel a little better in case I needed to go to the hospital. Some of the doctors were a little different that I could choose from. So probably in the fall of 23, I was fortunate enough, because I live in a retirement community, I ran across the name of a gentleman who was specializing in Medicare insurance. So I called him and he met with me and he explained everything, because when my husband went through it, we didn't know what we were doing. It was so confusing. So he met with me. I knew I didn't want to go on an HMO because last year in 23, the Anthem was an HMO, and that was the first time I ever was on an HMO. I was always a PPO. So I had to go through the primary care physician, then get the referral to see the dermatologist or the gynecologist. And I only went a few times in the year, but it still was nerve-wracking because I couldn't pick up the phone and call the doctor. So now I'm on a plan with Medicare, and I'm happy to say that this gentleman did say, when he was talking to me and meeting with me, he said, "Donna, you'll think that you've died and gone to heaven, because it's basically, $176 taken out of your Social Security every month. And then if you have to buy supplements and different things like that, you go from there." And because I'm fortunate right now, I don't need a supplement for prescriptions because I'm not on any prescription medicine, so I'm very lucky. So I'm doing that, and I'm back on the PPO, and that started February 1st because I get to start a month before I turn 65. My birthday was March 1st, so I did get to see my dermatologist that I used to go to. Hadn't seen her in a few years, had to see a different doctor. So that was great. And she did the thing that I go to see her for yearly, is a head-to-toe mole check, and she was very thorough. So I was happy with that. I did talk to her about the hair loss, because years ago, probably in about, I think it was about 2000, I'm trying to think, maybe 2010, I was working at a job where I was an administrator, and at one time I had another gentleman, he and I were both the administrators, and then budget cuts happened, and then I was the only administrator at the school who dealt with what I dealt with, was primarily behavior issues. And by the end of the year, my hair was really It looked thick, but my daughter said it was woolly. So I went to have my mole check, and the dermatologist at the time said to me, "Oh, you have female pattern baldness." And I just went, "Oh." So she said, basically, she said at that time, no over-the-counter supplements, anything you take orally is going to help grow your hair at this time of your life. And so I thought, okay. She goes, "You could talk to somebody about a hair transplant." And I thought, okay, not right away, because I wasn't losing hair crazy. So time has elapsed, and it's about 11 years later. And when I went to see her a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that to her, and she mentioned that there is a dermatologist, a few women in town who deal with that. And so I made an appointment to ask about that, because she did say there was some oral medicine, a prescription that you could take that proved that hair would grow. So I made that appointment for end of April, and I'll get back to you with the results of what comes from that. So that's that. Health insurance. I was so thrilled that my premiums are so much less. I just out of control. And it's so sad how many people in our country don't have health insurance because the premiums are ridiculous. So anyway, so that's the next thing. The next, after that, turning 65, it's important for me to stay healthy as far as my body goes. So I do exercise, I do walk, keep active. And since I moved to the retirement community, I also take a few different classes. I take a yoga class once a week for an hour and a half. And then 2 days a week, I take a 45-minute stretch class, which is really good because when I walk, I'm very bad about stretching before and after. I also started taking a meditation class once a week, and that's a 45-minute class. I also started taking a strength class, so that's two nights a week. It's an hour to kind of tone up the little extra skin that we have that sags a little bit. And then I take aquasize, and it's a water kind of aerobics class, and I take that 5 nights a week, and that's 45 minutes. So I do keep active exercise-wise. The next thing I think it's important for me is to keep my mind active. And I have to say, I stopped watching the news. I don't watch it on television. If I come through on my feed on my Apple, my iPhone, I'll see it that way. But I'm not into politics. I don't want to hear stuff like that. And I know people are like, you should know what's going on. So I do ask my sister to update me on things in politics because she's kind of in the loop. And so I do that. I also started taking from my memory Prevagen. And I started doing this about 4 months ago. So I take this one. This is a chewable, and it's not a bad flavor. Or the ones you can swallow. So I saw my primary care doctor last week, and I was talking to her about Prevagen, and I probably have another 2 months before I stop taking it because I really don't see any difference. And it's not cheap. I mean, for a month's supply of this, you can get it over the counter at CVS. That's where I got it. It's about $70. So it's really not cheap. So you can get the coupons at CVS. So that's something for memory. And yeah, I have to say, I don't think it worked that much for me. So another thing that I keep active on, I am in a book club, and I've been in a book club with friends for almost 20 years now. So we do read, we get together probably every 6 weeks to 2 months. And this is the latest book I'm reading. It's not on the book club recommendation, but it is a book my daughter gave me for my birthday. And so it is You Are a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Jen Sincero. So I have to say that the print is quite small, and I am getting my new prescription for my glasses, so yeah, it's really small. So this is my next read, so I'll let you know how that goes. Another thing on my list as I turned 65 is friendships. And I do believe that people come in and out of our lives for a reason. So I had a friend years ago, and she was a friend for a long time, and then things happened, and she's not a friend anymore. But I think that's how life happens. So we have friendships, and we meet new people, and then friends that we used to have no longer in our lives for whatever reason. I mean, you can be a friend, and I feel like I'm a friend like this, where I'm a true friend, but sometimes your friends might not be the same kind of friend you are. So you have to let that kind of go. And that's something I have to get better at, letting things go. And so friends come and go, and in the retirement community I'm in now, I've made a great many new friends. So I'm very blessed about that.
So, as far as friendships go, and saying that friendships are important in my life right now, I do have to remember two things my father told me. When I was 18, he said, "You just wait and see how fast the next 10 years go." And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that was 40, like 50 years ago. And the second thing he said to me, and at the time it didn't really make sense, he said, if you can count your true friends on one hand, then consider yourself lucky. So, like I said, people come, friends come and go into your life, out of your life. And I'm happy to say that I have enough friends in my life right now. So I feel blessed.
Next thing that is important to me is church. So I'm Catholic, and I raised my kids Catholic, and I'm the only one in my family who goes to Catholic church. But that's something that I like, and I love to go to church. And I joined a different parish a few years ago following a certain priest from the existing parish I was in. So I joined that parish. It'll be 2 years this summer. And he says Mass intermittently. So he's there kind of as a visitor. He's a retired priest. And they have a new pastor at the parish. So I'm going to that parish. I donate to that parish, but there's just something that's not, it's not clicking for me. So I went back to my old parish, and I went back there the other day, and it's so small compared to the parish that I was in. And so I think I don't have to lock into a certain parish, but I'm going back and forth and checking out the masses and just seeing how I feel. Because when my kids were little, they went to Catholic school, and we gave to the church so that it could help defray the cost of the tuition for the school. But now, as I'm older, my kids aren't there anymore. I can go wherever I want. So I'm trying different churches. So that's where I am right now, because I need to go to church, and that's just me. And I don't push it on anybody. Nobody goes with me. And it's kind of funny because I'm kind of odd in a way. I like to be around people, but that's one thing that I've always done is going to church by myself after my kids grew up. And my husband never went with me, even when the kids were little. So that is something that's important to me. The next thing, turning 65 that's important to me is travel. Because when we had the kids and they were living here, we would go on 2 vacations a year. We'd go to the beach in California every summer. We'd go to Knott's Berry Farm in January when there was a break in the school schedule for a few days. But we did the same vacation every year. And it's time for me to branch out. So I am going to be taking a trip in the summer to the Caribbean to meet with my sister and her family and my cousin. Looking forward to that. Possibly going to the beach again in June with my family here in California. So that's on my to-do list. I did renew my passport. So on my bucket list is to go to Europe with Italy first in mind. So we'll see. Hopefully that'll stay in my plans. And my last thing about turning 65 that I have to remember is try to stay positive, because I'll let little things niggle at me, and then I can't. I have to be positive. I love watching YouTube. I watch it every day. In fact, I watch it. I'm not even watching regular television or cable television. There's just so many different people on YouTube that I'm fascinated with and listen to. So that's where I am right now, 65, and I have to say I'm darn happy that I'm healthy. I've got my family. I'm blessed. I have things that I'm doing with my life, tutoring, cleaning, and enjoying my retirement. So on that happy note, hope you're happy. I'll see you next time.